I had been diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. I went to see some other doctors at another treatment center here in town and was told that I had, along with depression and anxiety, an eating disorder. And the doctors were telling me that this is an addiction, and I thought, wait a second, what? An addiction? To me, that was a bad word. That was a scary word. My treatment team then told me that I needed to go to residential treatment, that my life was in danger. It was a Monday that the treatment team from this residential place called me and said, "We've got a room available, book your plane ticket and come tomorrow." So on October 18th, I jumped on a plane and flew out to Arizona, out in the middle of the desert. And it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. I was just surrounded by such turmoil and hopelessness. And it was terrifying. I felt very alone, and I felt like this wasn't something I could talk about. One weekend, I'm on stage leading worship and telling people how great God is, and He's faithful, and He's the healer. And that very next weekend, I'm at a treatment center, and I started to question God so much when I was out there, like, where are you? What in the world, God? What the heck? Why couldn't you tell me about this? Why didn't you warn me? Why this? Why this? Why this? There were so many questions, and there were days when I was out there where I heard so much in my head that you're never going to get out of here. You're never going to feel better. You're never going to sing again. You have no story. Nobody wants to hear about depression. Nobody wants to hear about anxiety or panic attacks. Because I'm a Christian, I should be in faith, and my faith should work against those things. And I found that I needed more help. So while I was at the treatment center, there was a day where we had this session, a therapy session, where all of us would be in this one room, and the therapist had 2 chairs set up. And she said that whoever wanted to go first, they would sit in the chair and then talk to someone else in the chair. I, for some reason, decided that I was going to go first. And so I sat down in the chair, and the therapist said, who are you going to talk to? And I said, I'm going to talk to God. I was so mad, and I let Him have it. I got so much anger and frustration out. Just saying things like, God, why this? Why this? Was this your great plan for my life? What about this and what about this? And why didn't you heal me immediately? And why did I have to come here? Just laying it all out there. And then when I was done, the therapist said, okay, now you go sit in the other chair and you be God talking to you. And I thought, oh no. And so I sat in the other chair, and it was one of those moments where I knew God was talking, that it wasn't me. I couldn't have made those things up in my mind. I was so angry at Him. And He spoke such comfort and such empathy towards me, saying things like, Hilary, every time you hurt, I hurt. Every time you cried, I cried. The shame you felt, I was right there with you, felt it with you. And there was such hope in it. And I think the thing that stood out to me the most with that experience was when I was leaving and going back to the place that we lived. I had some people come up to me who didn't have a relationship with God. Some had professed to be atheists. And they came to me and asked, was that God speaking in there? And I was like, yeah, it was. And then I had another person come up to me, just precious people, say, I think God was talking in there. Was that God? I said, yeah, that was God. And so I saw God in the middle of the fire, smack dab in the middle. And I could have gone there and pretended to be this perfect human, this perfect Christian. I got to show that I've got it all together, that living a life following God is easy and it's going to be wonderful and not have any trouble ever. But it was in the brokenness, it was in the pain that God showed up. I don't know what I would do if I didn't know God. I can tell you from the only way that I am still alive right now, the only way that I am standing and even able to share this story right now is because of God. And He showed up so big in this fire. I feel like I got to know Him in a way that I never would have known Him had I not gone through this. He showed up so big. As I made the decision to step out into the fire, He was right there, holding out His hand, and He's been walking with me through it ever since.